Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of TI vlog series. If you've been watching my series, you'd know that this is the part 2 of my part 1. So if you haven't seen the part 1 of this video, I suggest you have a look at it, and it's titled Nigerian parents, Africans, singles, parents, before you pack your bags and baggages and make that decision to live abroad, stop, think. Part 1. So this is the part 2, and I'm going to talk a bit more about experiences, facts, the truth about Africans, particularly Nigerians. And for those who are watching my vlog for the very first time, welcome to TIA. So today's one is a continuation of the part 1. Like I said, this is part 2 of that video, and on this particular video I won't talk about facts. I won't talk about the actual sort of experiences people who leave Africa, particularly people who are in Nigeria, who are thinking of packing it all up and taking that plunge to come to Europe, especially UK. A lot of Nigerians like to come to UK. A lot of Africans like to come to UK because, first of all, it's an English speaking country and we speak English in Africa. Most African countries speak English, particularly those who were colonized by the British, as Nigeria is one of them. We speak English in Nigeria, so that we are the most populous African nation. Nigeria is the most populous African nation, and it is the most popular African nation as well. The funny thing is, if you're non-African and you're European or you're British, a lot of them think Nigeria is the only place in Africa. I'm not even joking. That's the honest truth. Most people think Nigeria is the only place in Africa. And the other thing is, they think every black person they come across is a Nigerian. Right. The main issue, which is the vlog, which is about talking about people who want to pack their stuff and come abroad. I'm not going to try and dissuade you. This video is not to discourage you. This video, if anything, is to help you understand the challenges that lay ahead, help you, sort of like zero your mind to what you want to do and think about it properly. I know that Nigeria is a very tough place to be in right now. I know that things have deteriorated economically, politically, financially. I know all of that, and I get it because I've lived in Nigeria in such similar conditions, and I know how frustrating it can be. I'm not going to try and patronize Nigerians who are watching my video and who actually live in Nigeria and are facing this on a daily basis. I'm just going to hit the nail on the head, which is, if you want to come abroad, if you want to go to Canada, Germany, Spain, anywhere you want to go in the world, in Europe, I want you to sit back and take a proper look at what your aims and your goals are. If you just get a visitor's visa and you go abroad, you're going to get stuck. That's guaranteed. If you think, hey, I've got my visiting visa now, that's my passport to go in abroad for life, for good, that's a very wrong step. Yes, you've got a visa. Congratulations. They've been granted that visa to go and visit. That's what it is. It's a visiting visa. If you decide to stay back in anywhere you go, Europe, America, UK, with a visiting visa, you will be trapped. You will get stuck. You will be stuck in the system for many years. You'll be stuck there with nothing to do. That is a fact. The only way out is this. Hear me now. The only way out is this. If you get that visa and you do decide to, take that plunge with your family, or as a single woman, as a single man, or as, a newly married couple who's leaving one of the spouse behind, whatever your status is, the minute you hit that country and you've made up your mind to not to come back to Nigeria, I beg you, go and get legal advice. Get a lawyer, get a solicitor, sit down with a solicitor, tell him or her your situation. They will give you the options. Do not listen to other Nigerians who will say, oh, I know one man here, I know one uncle there. Do not listen to them. This is Europe. It doesn't work like that. And a lot of Nigerians get trapped in that cycle. One auntie, one uncle that knows somebody who knows somebody, and that somebody comes to you and says, bring this amount of money, we can help you get your documents, get your papers. It's all gimmick. It's a lie. It doesn't work like that. When you step into this country, if you've made up your mind to stay in Europe or anywhere you are, please go and get a lawyer. Find the money, it doesn't cost you much to get an initial consultation. It doesn't cost a lot. You can look for the money, borrow, whatever. If you have friends, families, when you step in, get a legal person, seek advice so that you know the options you have. You know the routes which is best suitable for you to get. You find that there's some people, some Nigerians or Africans who have been in the country, with like UK, for example, for 10 years, 15 years, 13 years, or even more. And you wonder why they've never gone back home. You begin to wonder, this one has been abroad for X amount of years. We've not seen him. He's not coming back. He's not even sending money. We don't even know what he's doing. And then you start comparing him to his mates. Oh, look at his friend. He went just yesterday. That one is sending this home, sending that home. It's all the wrong way. You don't compare Europe. There's no basis for comparison, simply because Africans, Nigerians, we're not very truthful to one another. And also not in the habit of talking about things, which is why I've primarily set up my vlog, because Africans are not in the habit of talking. Women do not speak out about their problems, about their challenges. Men do not want to discuss what they're facing, either with their wives or financially or emotionally. Africans are not in the habit of open discussions, and unless something very dire triggers it. And it's a very tough terrain in Europe. It's a harsh terrain. There is no mercy, no father, no mother, no brother, no sister. It's just you. It's OYO on your own, and you're going to go through a lot. You've got the culture, you've got the climate, you've got the social life, you got food, you got a lot of changes to adapt. You got the emotional part of it, you got the psychological part of it that would affect you. The culture is different, totally different. And if you're not made for this sort of travails and challenges, it could break you emotionally. You find that people end up on antidepressants. First of all, when you get into the country with whatever visa you have, you need to get yourself registered with a GP. A GP is like a doctor, a clinic. You need to get that sorted. And you can only get that sorted and register if you have the right residency permit. You cannot register if you're on a visiting visa, because you're not based here. They know you're only visiting. So that's one hurdle you're going to cross. If you fall ill or you're sick, you'd have to pay for your treatment. And if you're coming on holiday, which is what you've told them at the embassy, how much do you really have on you? How much have you got to spend? How long would your finances last for? These are things you need to think about. If you haven't got enough money when you come in, you must then have a family friend, a brother, a sister, a relative to fall back on. And you must ensure that these are reliable relatives, because oftentimes people come in with the hope that they have an uncle, an auntie, or a friend who's going to sort them out. Is my person, is my buddy from way back. And you come into the UK and that person would not pick your phone call. It is a fact. People do this all the time. I heard stories. That person refuses to pick your call and just switches off. Or when you call them, they quickly act like they're in a hurry. They can't really talk much with you on the telephone. And then you feel like, oh, why is he acting all funny to me? He knew I was coming. But I'm sorry, that's the way it is in Europe. Because that person is probably trying to fend for himself, his family, or his wife, or whoever his dependents are, and he doesn't want to tell you, but he doesn't want to disappoint you at the same time. So please, this is one factor. The people you think or you're hoping to stay with or put up with when you come to Europe, to the United Kingdom especially, they could disappoint you. So what is your backup plan if that happens? This is what I said to you in my last video. You need to have a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, and a plan D if the need arises, because you just never know what eventualities you'll be faced with. You see, in terms of experiences, when you walk on the streets of the United Kingdom, when you socialize and you meet your fellow Nigerians, you find out that there are Nigerians who are, Nigerians are very educated people. You have educated Nigerians. You have Nigerians who have very strong, good academic qualifications. Most Nigerians you find in the United Kingdom are either here as economic migrants, or they're here as students. Very few are here to join their spouses. You know, some of them have spouses who have been settled here or been here for a long time, and that person invites them. But the vast majority of us, including myself, were economic migrants because we left Nigeria and we came over here to settle and start a new life. So it doesn't matter whether you hold a British passport right here and now. Whoever owns a British passport, who is a Nigerian, I'm happy for you. But it doesn't change the fact that you've come from the roots of a migrant. You were once a migrant. You came through one of those routes, and then you eventually managed to stabilize or sort out your documentation. And now you've been awarded a British passport, which is the end, you know, the end product or the end game if you go through the right process. So once again, most Nigerians are not here to be criminals or to defraud the system. Nigerians are usually here as students, a vast majority as students. And that is why Nigeria contributes financially to the United Kingdom's wealth. The amount of money Nigeria contributes, the net worth in terms of tourism, students, in terms of school fees, is over billions of dollars. You know, it's on record there. I mean, what do you expect? There's so many Nigerians in the United Kingdom. As of 2011, the census says that there are about 193,183 Nigerian-born UK residents, and that's only in England. That's only in England. And then when you add Wales, you add Scotland, you add Northern Ireland, we're going to be clocking about nearly 200,000 Nigerians in the United Kingdom. That's quite, you know, a huge amount. But in comparison to the Nigerian population, it's only a minuscule. That's just a little bit of us. We're a lot in terms of figures, but in comparison to how many we are in Nigeria, it's just a tiny bit of us are here in the UK. If you're not able to get your documents sorted in good time, you might find out that you fall into the category of one of those kind of people who will find themselves in England, United Kingdom, America, or wherever you are, who's been there for like 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and you still are going around in circles. It's not unusual. You're not alone. There are people who have actually been in the country for that long, and they've managed to get, you know, the right solution. They've got the right documentation. They've got legal help, legal advice, and the lawyers file for them. So, but it's not the best to find yourself 20 years, 23 years, or even longer in a place and you're not settled. The fact that you're not settled affects you emotionally. It affects you mentally. It's traumatizing. So a lot of you who are watching my video may not understand where I'm coming from, but I just want you to understand that moving abroad has a lot of emotional, psychological impact in one's life and in one's well-being. Most people might have good or successful stories. Others might be totally oblivious to what they're coming to deal with here. So it's best, I mean, you listen if you have the plans to come abroad. But above all, I want us to remember this. For those non-Nigerians watching my video today, I need you to remember this. Despite all the negative publicity around Africans, around Nigerians, in particular Nigerians are very capable people, very intelligent people, and very hardworking people. And given a level playing field, Nigerians have a tenacity to, you know, to shine. We have, you know, with ability to shine in whatever we do. And that is why you see us breaking boundaries. You see us, you know, pushing boundaries and excelling in whatever we put our hearts to. You know, but it's sad that sometimes, you know, as human beings, we are prone to make errors and, you know, wrong judgments. And coming abroad sometimes brings that out in some Nigerians, and you know the way they've found themselves. I just want to use this video to remind us that some Nigerians in England, in the United Kingdom, that we may have experienced are not generally bad people, but because of the environment of the United Kingdom can be sometimes very harsh, very cold, and very unfriendly sometimes. And if you find yourself there, you begin to absorb those, you know, individualistic behavior characteristics, and you sooner or later find yourself that way. And I do find that some Nigerians have absorbed that behavior. You find Nigerians who are very cold, very distant, very unkind, very unfriendly in this, you know, part of the world. So if you're planning to come abroad, please take time, you know, do your analysis properly. make sure you have very truthful friends, family relations, you know, who will stand by you in the event that things don't go as planned. Because the last thing you want to be is a ghost. You don't want to be stuck in a country where you're a ghost. You know, you're an undocumented migrant. You're in the system, you're floating around, you're working illegally, you're existing illegally, you're stuck. You can't go back home because you've left home. You said your goodbyes and you can't do much here because you haven't got the right documents. So you're neither here nor there. That's a very terrible state of mind to be. Or if you're a woman, you're a single woman and you've come to United Kingdom and you're in that position, you could end up making decisions that are going to be very, you know, horrible to you, you know, your mental health and all that. You might end up just settling in a marriage because you know the person has the right documents, and when you get married to him, you know, he would help you get the right documents just by the virtue of being his spouse. People have fallen prey of that. I know so many stories where women have gone into marriages just for documentation purposes. The system is aware about this. The UK system knows that Nigerians get married under sham circumstances just to obtain documents. Or if you're a man, you end up marrying a woman because you want documentation just to be legal in the country, and you have a wife in Nigeria, or you have a spouse in Nigeria, or you have a proper family back home, but you've lied to the person here. All sorts of stories, you know, begin to emerge, all under the umbrella of survival. And at the end of the day, you just sit back and you wonder, is it really worth it? Is it really worth it? Indeed, it is a game of survival in Europe. It is a game of survival for the fittest. If you're not cut out for that sort of hustle, I would just advise you not to bother, because whether you go to Germany, you go to France, you go to Spain, you go to Italy, you go to America, you come to the United Kingdom, it's purely a survival game, and it's only the fittest that will survive. You've got to have the right mindset, because trust me, Europe will try to break you mentally. Europe will try to break you emotionally, culturally, because for the sort of people we are as Africans, our ethics, our morals, our mindset is totally different from the way the West is. So you find that a lot of people struggle to, you know, to settle into the system. I said it so many times. I said in my last video, I still find it hard sometimes. I've lived here for nearly 20 years, and I'm sure some of you are watching the video and say, oh God, why is she saying this? Why can't she just leave and come back to Nigeria and come and join us? Yes, I could leave and come and join you in Nigeria, but I've got children. My children are young. They're still in school. They're settled here. I can't just take my kids because I personally want to come back home, or because I personally feel, you know, more at ease at home. I can't take such selfish steps. It's a lot more, you know, there's a lot more intricacy involved in it other than just me carrying myself and coming back home. You see, but I've been here for such a long time. It is no longer possible for me to just wake up one day and say I'm gone. My kids are settled here. They've got a life here. They don't know much about Nigeria. You know, so for my children's sake, I've got to make that sacrifice until they're at an age where they can, you know, they can stand on their own 2 feet. And that is the sort of sacrifices most Nigerians make by remaining in the United Kingdom or America or wherever. You know, the weather is not conducive. It's cold, it's hot, it's extremely cold. You know, all of those inconveniences are things that we as Africans, some Africans, have to put up with because we want to live abroad. Not necessarily because we want to live, but because we have commitments here, or we're settled here with our families and our children or our jobs. You know, it's very difficult to just get up and go. You know, relocating to a new place, a new country, a new culture, is not that easy. It's not a very straightforward, you know, affair, and it's something that one has to think about properly, thoroughly, before taking that bold step or plunge, because it is a very big step. I mean, I came here when I was a bit younger. You know, I was more, when you're younger, you're fearless, you're bold, you take steps without even, you know, weighing the circumstances or the consequences that might emerge. That's what you do when you're younger, and that is why it's advisable that if you want to move abroad to Europe, if you're younger, it's a lot easier for you to come in either as a student. You go through the system, you go through the process, and you slowly, you know, acclimatize, you slowly settle into the system. But when you're older and you've got your working age, you've had a life back in your country, you see people here who have good qualifications back in Nigeria, who are PhD holders, who are degree holders, and they're stuck in the system here. They're doing menial jobs. I hear stories about in Canada. You have people who are in Canada who are working as, taxi drivers, security guards, and they are PhD holders. But you know what? That's Europe for you. You either do that or you do not survive. How do you feed? How do you eat? How do you pay your bills? How would you pay your solicitor or your lawyers who are actually filing your documents for you or who are renewing your documents? At the end of the day, you're going to end up having to settle for menial jobs or settle for certain things that on a good day, if you were back in Nigeria, you probably say, no, man, I can't do this. I'm above this sort of life. I can't be working, in a cold room. I can't be working as a cleaner in a mortuary. I can't be working in a morgue. I can't be a janitor in a class, in a school. So many menial odd jobs that, one may not ever consider that they would do if they were back in their hometown or home country. But when you come abroad, it becomes a means to an end. So I'm going to stop this video here today. I just hope I have managed to not confuse you, but managed to give you a direction. If you're planning to come abroad to settle, think about it. If you're a family as a unit, think about the impact on your child, on your children, because the rules here are different. The way you raise your child in Nigeria is not the way you're going to raise your child here. There are rules that tells the children that they can call up the police or call up social services if they're not happy with the way their mom or their dad's treating them. That's going to be a different topic. I'm going to delve more into, child protection, social services, the culture around raising children and the impact on African families. I'll delve more into that in another video, but I also want to just mention it because families are relocating, as single people are relocating, as younger people are relocating and moving into different parts of the world because Nigeria is tough. I get that. I get the whole gist. Nigeria is tough. Africa is tough in general. But if you must go abroad, if you must relocate to any other part of Europe, take your time, do your research, make sure you have reliable people and, strong ties, people who will be there to support you financially, people who will be there to support you emotionally, because trust me, the emotional aspect, the emotional trauma, the emotional change, it's words fail me, because if you're not a strong-hearted person, if you're not a strong-willed person, Europe will break you. And make sure it's worth it. Until I come your way again, thank you for watching. Please remember to subscribe, to like, and to share my video. Above all, please leave your comments below. Bye.